Hey everyone, welcome to episode 316, Halo Effect. Welcome to the Harmony in the Home podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Hutchison. I'm a counselor, a life coach, and most importantly, an imperfect mom doing this work right along with you. And my goal on our podcast is to go from chaos to calm, feel less frazzled, and have more fun within your four walls to have more harmony in your home. What in the world is the halo effect? I am going to get to the halo effect in a minute, but before I start talking about the halo effect, I want to talk to you about letter writing, which is so much fun. Learning how to write letters to companies. You get paid by writing 2 sentences over and over and over with each envelope. The more you write, the more you make. So if you write, you will make money. If you don't write, you will not. You don't have to write. There's no quotas. There's no one over your shoulder. You don't have to tell anybody about it. It could be your little secret. And I love it because I do it during cracks of my day. This is not something you quit your day job over. It's something as a side gig to fit in the cracks of your day. And just like I always say, I do it in the cracks of my day, and I'm addicted to it like crack because I love the extra income. For us, it helps pay for our kids in travel sports. And Grady just got back from a 2-week Bible trip to Europe, which was phenomenal. It helped with that, and just helps take the pressure away from, and just kind of puts a little cushion in the day-to-day and the week-to-week with all the bills and the things that come up. Like all of a sudden you need new tires. You're not expecting to get new tires. I just took the dogs to the vet. I was like, oh, it's going to be like $152. It was $641 for checkups and shots. And Tucker has something on his paw that he's chewing at nonstop. And I had to get antibiotics for that. I was like, wait, what? This is insane. Life is so expensive. So it really helps take the edge off. So if you're interested, send me an email or write me on Facebook, and I will hook you up with the training that I did that start for finish, soup to nuts, teaches you everything you need to know about how to write letters, who to write to, what to write, get your template approved, and start writing right away. I love it, but it's not for everybody. But if you think it's for you and you can be consistent and patient, I will sign you up, Buttercup, with the training that I did, which was phenomenal. So we're talking a little bit about the halo effect, which I've never heard this before. And I didn't know what the halo effect was, but I have been obsessed with the Karen Read trial, which the verdict is probably out by now. And I wish I could look into the future because I'm on the edge of my seat. It has to be not guilty. I am so nervous about this verdict. I'm not worried about a guilty verdict at all. There's probably 2%. I'm nervous about a guilty verdict, probably 3%. If you're not listening to the Karen Read trial, you're probably what are you talking about? I could do a whole podcast about it, a whole 300 episodes about it. It's that entailed. There's no way I could ever summarize it all right here. If you want a summary, I can summarize it. I can send you to a good summary YouTube about it. But here's my breakdown. If I had to think it out loud, I'm nervous for so you already go Google the verdict because the verdict's already out by the time this is released. So I'm mostly nervous. Let's see. Well, first of all, it has to be, my vote is not guilty 100%. That is a 200%. My fear is that she's going to get a hung jury because I think there's been some shady business going on with the jury. Personally, can I prove it? No. But do I have a feeling? Yes. I'm mostly worried about a hung jury and having to do this all over again, which would be so unfair to everything. So I'm probably 2% worried about guilty verdict, which there's just no way. I can't do all the math. 58% nervous about a hung jury, and then 100% hopeful that she'll get a not guilty verdict and just be done with this over and over and over. Anyway, I heard about this when I was listening to, not only do I listen to the trial, then I listened to people, different lawyers talk about the trial and what happened for the day. The lawyer does a really good recap of the day in less than an hour. I listened on 2X, so I can get a recap of what happened for the day in less than 30 minutes usually, because I fast forward through all the commercials. So I think it might have been his show, or maybe Melanie Little or Emily D. Baker. These are all people that I love listening to. Or, there's so many. Runkle. I like to listen to him. Turtle Boy. Oh my gosh, he's hilarious. He's a little raunchy, so he's not for everybody, but he's really good at recaps. And Carl Steinbach's really good at recaps. So the halo effect, I heard about one of the lawyers talking about. And what happens is when you're doing a trial, there's a halo effect where I'll just read it for what Google says. The halo effect occurs when overall positive impression of a person, product, or brand is based on a single characteristics. If our first impression is positive, the subsequent judgments we make will be colored by this first impression. So the halo effect, let's say you're listening to someone on trial and they take the stand and you like what they say in the first couple of minutes, and then you put a halo on them, and then you're almost like blinded by that first couple of minutes. It's kind of like honeymoon stage in a new relationship where you're so in love in the beginning and that honeymoon stage is so strong that once the red flags come up, you're like, oh, you just kind of excuse it away, or you paint the red flags white because you're not really paying attention to, like, that could be a serious red flag because you're still focused on that first couple months, first couple weeks of the honeymoon stage. And so you ignore the red flags, or you paint them white, or you think that's a yellow flag, but I'm going to paint that flag white. Because number one, your brain has already focused so much on the good that it can only see the good. So I learned about it through trials, but the reason why I want to bring it back to you is because I don't want you to put a halo effect onto any of your children. Because what happens is sometimes if we have more than one child, we might put the halo on one child and only see the good in what he or she is doing. And then sometimes, not always, we can do the opposite to another child and kind of pit them against each other. Unconsciously, sometimes consciously, it's the whole favorite child syndrome. So you might have had the halo effect growing up where your parents thought you could do no wrong, and then your brother and sister could never do anything right. And you're like, whoa, I'm not going to ever do anything that he or she is doing because they have the opposite of the halo effect. I don't want to say the D word, DEVIL, because that's too harsh. But it turns into victim and villain, where the child that is not with the halo on their head becomes the villain of the family, and then we are victimized in our brain by that child. So sometimes if we put a halo on one child, we do the opposite and take the halo off the other child and only look for the negative. So just like we look for all the good that the child that has the halo on, we look for all the good, or they mess up at school, or they make a blunder, you're like, oh, you're having a tough day, or oh, you didn't get enough sleep. Making excuses for it, seeing around it, giving them a lot more compassion and grace, which compassion is great. Compassion and grace is great, but we don't give out equal compassion and grace to the other child who does not have the halo. So I just want you to be aware of it. And I have a lot of clients that I work with. They didn't have the halo over their head, but they saw their brother or sister with the halo on their head. And a lot of times they didn't deserve the halo. They were the problem child. They were the one that were addicted to drugs. They were addicted to alcohol. They were the squeaky wheel, and they got all of the extra compensation, or they got all the extra attention, or they got all the extra, while the one who was doing the right thing that should have had the halo on their head gets nada because the squeaky wheel was getting the oil. A lot of times that happens is because the parent is so upset that the child is off course. So it does everything in their power with extra attention, extra love, extra money. Might buy them a house to get them started in life where you didn't get even something to help you with a down payment on your mortgage, or even a housewarming gift. A lot of times the reason why that happens is, let me explain this to you. It has nothing to do with playing favorites. It has to do that they need that child to feel successful and be successful in their life, because if that child is successful, then they feel like they're a successful parent. But if that child is off the beaten path, they think they can fix that by getting them on the right path with money, love, attention, and enabling behaviors. And then you're sitting there going, listen, I'm not breaking the law. I'm not doing drugs. I'm not in and out of jail. I'm just using extreme examples. And they're getting all of the goodness. Why am I not getting it? And not even that you want it. You just want it to be equal playing field, which totally makes sense. The reason why that's not happening is because they put the halo on that child. And they know that, oh, he or she is fine on their own. They don't need money, extra attention, extra love, because they're already on the right path. So the reason why they're doing all that enabling behavior to your sibling, and make sure you're not doing it in your own life, is because they need that child to be on the right path so they can feel like they did a good job as a parent. So they're just throwing money, throwing attention, throwing love at the problem when the said child is not doing anything to help themselves. And it's very frustrating, but you have to know they're doing it because of their own sense of wanting to feel good enough as a parent, because they feel like such a failure and they're making their child means something about them and their value as a parent. So they're just throwing money at the problem, throwing time at the problem. They might babysit your siblings' kids over and over and over, and then they don't even come to your kids' birthday parties. So just be aware of that. And you can probably see it a lot with your own childhood where someone in your family got the halo and didn't deserve it, or they did deserve it and you felt like you could never measure up. And you're like, well, forget about it. I'm just going to give up and I'm just going to go off the beaten path because it's too much pressure. I have seen both effects of being the favorite child and being the not favorite child. I have seen it with clients, and the person who is the favorite child feels so much pressure because they don't want to lose that spot on the throne, so to speak, or that spot on the podium. And then the one that's not the favorite child feels so much less than-ness that they act out accordingly, and they feel like they can never be good enough, so why even try? They have that learned helplessness. So either way, I've seen it's a lose-lose situation. So if you've seen it growing up in your own life where you've been the halo or the not the halo or the black sheep of the family, just be aware of it and why it happened, and just be aware of it so you cannot repeat it. And not doing it with your own child, where you give the child who's more demanding more of your time, energy, and attention. Just be equal opportunity lover. Donate and give away your love equally in a way that feels good for you and not an enabling way because you want your child to feel successful or be successful, then you can feel like you're doing a good job. Your children have free will. We have free will. We cannot make our children's successes or failures mean anything about us. That's just part of their human experience. Your parents probably made your successes or failures mean something about them because they didn't know about consciousness. That's okay. We're going to leave that in the past, and we're going to rinse, repeat the parts that we did like and take away the parts that we didn't like and start a new journey with our own kids. And not put the halo on anybody because everyone has a lot of awesome and everyone has a lot of annoying. We all have that polarity inside of us. We all have good parts and we all have parts that are just like, not so great. We're always working on. There is no perfect child. There is no perfect parent. There is no perfection of being all good. That's part of the human experience. Both can be existing at the same time because if you have there's always an underbelly. If you have the straight A child, straight A who's getting all the accolades, there's an underbelly of that child. Just know that, but you don't have to know it all. You just have to know that there's an underbelly. The pressure that child puts on themselves, they project a lot of perfectionism onto other people. All that stuff, you don't know anything about that because you're not living in those four walls. So don't look at someone else's family or someone else's lives or someone else's kids and want that, because you just have to look at what's in front of you and love on what you have in front of you and look for the good in all of the people in your four walls. And when you look for the good, you will find more of the good. And don't get into a victim villain mentality with any of your kids or your spouse or ex-spouse, because that's a lose-lose for everybody involved. So let me know how the halo effect helps you. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Hey mamas, thanks for listening. If you had any ahas, clicks, or those lightning bolt moments while listening, you have to check out my free parenting bootcamp, where we take all of this to the next level and we try to create even more awakenings for ourselves so that we can connect more with our kids and never yell at them again. You can sign up at www.coachingkelly.com. And if you really want to fill up my love cup, send me an email of what your aha was, what your click was, what was that lightning bolt moment while you were listening. I want nothing more in life than for you to have harmony in your home and to learn how to be an imperfect mom like me, which allows your kids to be imperfect too, each and every day. Thanks for listening.